Hello everyone, welcome to 3ddesignacademy.com and the third part of the 12th Q&A session. In the previous lesson, I actually started on the fillet of the BMW X6 hood. So let's go ahead and continue with the build. So here's what I'm going to do. I think for this particular lesson, I'm just going to work on this little flick as you see over here. So let's actually put some surfaces down. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to do an insert. I'm just going to make sure that it's curved surface instead of spans. I'm just going to put something like this. Now I do think that the flick over here is a little bit more shallow compared to this one. That's why I'm making a little bit short compared to this one over here. And let's just go ahead and trim this one. Now, for this particular section, I can use freeform blend with G2 on one side and position on the other like this. The only problem is if I do that, well, that's just due to edge line. So if I were to just do something like this, the only problem is it starts to curve in like this, which is fine if it actually looks like this, but I don't think it does. I think it just making it straight would be better. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to snap a curve over here like this. And I'm just going to go to the top view. I'm just going to snap a curve over here like that. Now, you just got to make sure that it's actually at the right location because there are several curves. Looks like this one is. So let's actually go ahead and hide these ones over here. I'm going to say invisible. And now I'm just going to do a line over here. So I'm just going to align this one over here like this. And I think that should be good. Actually, let's go ahead and do an insert over here too, because that's going to allow me to just make a nice straight theoretical. So let's go ahead and do an insert. Oh, looks like it won't let me. That's fine. I just need to duplicate this curve over, or duplicate that edge over here. I just need to extend it and trim. So I'm just going to grab that one. I'm going to say project. I'm going to say trim. That looks good. And now, actually for this particular section, I would probably want to just, I think extending might not be the best idea, although, you know what? Let's just leave it. Okay. So I'm just going to do this. I'm just going to do a bi rail over here. So it's going to be 1, 2. Oh, actually, that won't let me do that, would it? So for this particular section, yeah, let's just make it out of square. Okay, so I'm just going to say 1, 2, 3, and 4 with the curve over here. 4 is going to be curvature, and I'm just going to do an explicit control to make sure that it's nice and light. I think that should be good. Now in this particular, now it's quite possible that I probably need to cut this and do a fillet over here, but I'm not going to. I don't think I'm going to go quite that far. I'm just going to leave it here so that it's just a local to the hood itself. Because when you actually get into the blended to the A-pillar, it gets really complicated. So I'm just going to leave it here. And let's go ahead and fill this one in. Okay, so it's going 1, 2, 3, 4 again. And 1 needs to be curvature like this. And that should look pretty nice. All right. And I think I'm actually going to do the same thing over here, although I'm not quite sure how the hood actually looks. I think it's following it, but depending on the picture, it doesn't look like it is. While looking at this one, I think it kind of does. Although I must say, just making it straight is going to make it a little bit easier. So let's just do that. I think it's, well, since it's a little ambiguous how it looks, I think convenience can take over. I think convenience can take a precedence. So I'm just going to do an insert over here again, and I'll make sure that it's actually insert. Just going to snap it over here. Oh, okay. So it looks like it doesn't really matter if it's straight or not because it's going to be curvature anyways. But since well, we're doing this anyways, might as well as just make it nice. Okay, so I'm just going to do that and just project it using a curve over here. I'm just going to delete the construction history over here, and I'm just going to untrim this one over here. And I'm going to do a square. It's going to 1, 2, 3, and 4. And that is not going to be curvature. 1 is going to be curvature. 2, 3, and 4 are going to be position, and that looks good. Okay, so let's just go ahead and delete the construction history and everything. I'm going to trim this one, and I think that should look good. Well, let's hope that it does. Okay, and let's go ahead and put a fillet over here. So I'm just going to say surface fillet. It's going to be chord. It's going to be G2, and I'm going to, I can't quite remember how big that was. So let's just query the history. This looks like it's 70. Oh, actually, in this particular section, I think the filler was a little bit short. So I'm just going to untrim it. And I'm just going to go ahead and put a surface fillet all the way through. And looks like there's a little bit of continuity problem here. So let's check that out. Oh, it's positional. Oh, okay. So I think I might have not aligned that one. So let's go ahead and grab a line. It's going to be G2, and I'm just going to align it like this. I'm just going to make sure it's edge on both sides and position influence set to max, and that should take care of it. All right, so let's go ahead and delete the construction history again. I'm just going to grab these surfaces like this. And let's go ahead and put a surface fillet down. It's going to be 70. I'm just going to click on all of these surfaces over here. And let's see how that looks. Now, because this is going, of course, this is going to be curved over here. It looks like that does get a little bit messed up. So what you can do is you can just deselect over here. It looks like that deselected everything. Okay, let's do that again. I'm just going to select up to this point over here. And the last part, I'm going to manually build it. All right, so I'm going to say edge align on this side. That looks good. Looks like there's a span in the middle, so I can try to do Bezier. And that does split it. Now, if you want to be honest, if it's just one extra span, I think that should be good. I mean, the CV structure looks pretty clean too, so you can probably just leave it like this. If you want to, however, want to make it a little bit cleaner than that, you can, of course, make a curve over here and just project it, do a line, do all sort of stuff in order to make it cleaner. But, well, yeah, if it's just a single span, I think you can leave it like this. All right, so I'm just going to go ahead and delete the construction. Well, it's not a single span, it's got two spans, but yeah, I think that should be fine. All right, so let's move on. So for this section, you do need a fillet. I think a manual build is necessary just because it's going in a weird direction. So I'm just going to project over here like this on both sides. And I'm going to trim over here, and I'm going to trim over here. And all we have to do is just fill it with a square. So it's going to be 1, 2, 3, and 4. 1 and 3 is going to be curvature, and of course, you need more CVs because this is a curvature. And you need 5 CVs, so I'm just going to say 5 and 5, and that looks good. And I'm going to see if I can get 2 to be curvature also. Looks like it won't. If that's the case, let's take a look at what's going on. Show max label, show come on. Okay, so curvature deviation 1, if it's exactly 1 point, it's usually due to the flatness of the surface, but this surface does have a little crown. So I'm wondering what is going on. Now, that said, however, you can always try to use a line in order to see if that'll go away. And because it's just peeking it over here, I think that probably is the problem. And there it is. All right, so that's good. I got a line. I got curvature on both sides. I'm going to just go ahead and delete the construction history over here. And let's go ahead and put the fillet over here first. So let's see. Actually, this one... Yeah, let's do that first. Okay, so again, I'm just going to grab a surface fillet over here. I think this one probably needs to be manually built, but let's give it a go. Actually, before I do, let me just hide the refs and let me just save. So that in case the model blows up, I still have a backup. Now this is, if you can remember, this is just the same surface. If you look at the CV structure between the two, it's exactly the same. So you don't need to put a fillet over here, but you might want to click these ones. And let's see how that does. So I'm just going to do a fillet. I'm going to do the same size, 70 to start with. And let's take a look. Yeah, that's starting to become a little weird over here. So I'm going to say deselect these ones. Let's just go back and let's just, I'm going to say this probably also needs to be rebuilt. Yeah, that's no good. Okay, so let's do this. I'm just going to build a surface fillet between these three surfaces. or I should say 6 or 3 sets of surfaces. And that looks pretty good. However, I do need to make sure that the size is good. So I'm just going to turn symmetry on and see if it looks like that, which it kind of does, but I think it could be a little bit softer. Just a hint. So instead of 70, I think I'll go 90 and take a look. I think that looks pretty good. Yeah, I think that's actually spot on. So I think I'm going to use that size. Looks pretty good. Yeah, I think that's good. All right, so let's just compare against other pictures though. I do see, yeah, it's actually not as soft as you think. So I think this should be pretty good. All right, so I think I'm just going to leave it like that. Okay, now that's done, let's go ahead and actually finish this up. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to delete the construction history over here. And I'm going to just finish this area over here. And actually let's hide all the curves because they're getting in the way. So what I'm going to do is, well, basically do the same thing that I did on this side. I'm just going to extend this surface over here. I'm going to turn merge off. I'm going to just extend it. And I'm going to use the surface edges as a curve for this one. Okay, so the COS has been projected. Oh, actually, I do need this one. So let's pull this out. Is it this one? No, it's this one that I need. So I'm just going to pull that out. And let's go ahead and trim over here and trim over here. And let's use a square to finish this up. So it's going to 1, 2, 3, and 4. And let's just make sure that symmetry is off. Okay, I got curvature on all sides, and that's excellent. All right, so that's good, and I'm going to do the same thing over here, but do notice that this is actually one surface, so you just have to be a little bit aware. Now, I think the direction of this one should be identical to this one, so let's go ahead and see if I can just do that. Now, I'm just going to grab a curve over here. Actually, this one, I'm not sure if I can just extend this because oh, there we go. As you can see, it's doing that. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to duplicate a curve like this. I'm going to use degree 2, and I'm going to align over here, and I'm going to align over here, and I'm going to project over here like this, and let's see if that will allow me to create a nice fillet. Okay, I'm just going to, well, since we need a fourth edge, I'm just going to use a curve over here like this. And let's see if I can just use a square. 1, 2, 3. Oh, come on. 1, 2, 3, and 4. Like this. However, it looks like it's failing on all sides. Now, that could be probably due to just being trimmed. So it's not a natural surface edge, and as you can see, it's a failing position, which is fine. However, I think I need to use a little bit different method. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to do a fit curve over here. And still, I mean, 0.0031 is pretty tight, but it's not, well, it is positional, but it's not super tight. However, I think I can just use it. So let's see if it'll work. Now this, however, it does need to be curvature over here as well. Actually, I think I can just project and trim. So maybe I don't need that. So let's, oh, okay. So I don't need that. So I don't actually need to make a curvature over here. So that actually makes it a little bit easier. Because if it's all, if it does need to be curvature on all four sides, that makes it a little bit difficult. But let's just see if I can make this without doing so. Okay, so I'm just going to say curvature over here. Looks like it's failing position, which is actually quite a shame. But I think it gives me a pretty good basis to start with. This with. So I'm going to just untrim these two over here. I'm just going to align with position. So I'm going to say, or not position, with project. So I'm going to say G2 project. I'm going to align here, and I'm going to use this to align here. I got curvature on both sides, but I got to make sure that it's curvature here. And it looks like it's not. So what I'm going to do is, well, let's see if I can just try to do it. Get the alignment with curvature, align, vector. No, won't let me. So I'm just going to revert. And looks like manual alignment is needed. So first of all, I'm just going to trim this one and this one like this. And I'm going to see if I can just try to push it nicely over here. CV structures. I think maybe that's the positioning. May have to do with this. Let's see if I can get it to be curvature. If not, I can always pull out some more tricks. So let's go ahead and do NUV. It's going to be 5,000 for mouse sensitivity. I'm just going to drag it down over here. I'll probably pull this one along for the right as well. Looks like it's starting to fail tangency, so I'm just going to grab this one only. And looks like I'm pretty close. So it looks like I just need to do a little bit here. Let's see, that's pretty close. And there it is. I got curvature on all sides. All right, so that looks good. And I'm just going to get rid of this curve over here. This surface is actually not needed. So I'm going to hide it away. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to project this one so that at least I have some boundary. Actually, you know what? Let's do that after I do the fillet. Let's see, where is it supposed to be? Okay, so it looks like it's actually a little bit mismatch over here. So I'm just going to use a stretch tool to update that. So let's snap it over here. That looks good. And I probably, well, yeah, let's do, instead of doing that, I think I'm just going to extend this back over here. Oh, looks like it's a little bit mispositioned. So I'm just going to snap it over here like that. That's good. And now I'm just going to extend it back. Whoops. Now I'm just using this to just project. I'm not actually building surfaces, so that's why I'm just doing roughly. I'm just going to make a degree 3 curve here. And I'm just going to align it like that just to simulate a little bit similar shape. I'm going to say auto scale G2. I'm just going to pull it out like that. That's good. And let's go ahead and just project and trim. So I'm just going to grab these two curves like that, and I'm going to trim over here, trim this one and trim this one, and that should look pretty good. All right, so I think that's pretty similar, although I'm starting to maybe think that that's how it's not supposed to be. Well, whatever, close enough. Okay, now I think the only fillet that I have to do is this one over here and this one that's well, basically creating this corner over here. So I'm going to continue, but let's go ahead and build this one first. So I'm just going to untrim both sides, and I'm going to actually delete all the COSs over here, and I'm going to build this one. Because we already have this fillet over here, I'm just going to use the same curves, and I'm just going to make sure that it is on the same side, or basically same size, and connects nicely. So I'm just going to project over here from top and do the same thing over here. And now I'm just going to go ahead and trim. So trim this one. I'm going to extend this one over here and trim this one like this. Okay, and for this side, I'm just going to, well, since it is has a square ending, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to do a bi-rail like this. I'm going to say rebuild. Rail 1 is going to be curvature. Rail 2 is going to be curvature. Curve segment is going to be on. I'm just going to pull it out over here so that I can patch this in over here like this. Okay, so that looks pretty good. And let's take a look. Yep, I think that looks pretty good. And now I'm just going to finish it with a square. So it's going to be 1, 2, 3, and 4. And 2 and 3 is going to be curvature. However, if you see this CV structure over here, you'll see that it's going in and out like this. So you just want to take a look, make sure that's okay. So if this was a free, you'll see that it's shaped like this. So you need a little bit of progression. So what you want to do is you can make a curvature here, and you can play around with the I guess the boundary blend a little bit, and that looks good. And you probably want to do it until this doesn't fail. So I would say 0.15 is pretty good. And I think that gives a nice progression between here and here. All right, so I would say that, oh, actually, that's failing. So let's make it, there we go. Still looks pretty decent. Now, if you think that the shape is going to be a lot better with this one, what you have to do is you still have to make sure that this side is curvature. So what you can do is just, it looks like it's just a tiny little deviation. So you can just delete the construction history or delete the construction history on the surface. And you can just use transform CV with NUV like this in order to make it curvature there. So pretty easy, not too bad. So I think that's looking pretty good. Okay. Now the highlight is going to have the shape, but it is the same case with the actual car. So not much you can do there. Now that said, however, I don't know why there is a surface over here. Oh, that's because all the hidden layers are out. All right. So now that's done, let's go ahead and put a fillet over here. So this is a fillet that needs to go in. So let's go ahead and do that. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to grab a surface fillet here. It's going to be a little bit smaller. So let's start with 50. And I'm just going to grab these 3 surfaces over here like this. Whoa, and that looks like that. So that's probably a little bit too big and also probably needs to be manually built. All right, so if that's the case, let's go ahead and manually build it. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to approximate this over here and here. And let's make this a degree 2 curve. And you'll realize that this one actually has quite a lot of curvature over here. So I'll probably make it a little bit more straight, but I'll have to take a look. So I'm just going to snap this. Oh, actually, you know what? Let's do this. Let's make a curve fillet between this edge and this edge like this. I'm going to make it chord. It's going to be G2. And let's make it 50. Looks like it probably needs to be a little bit bigger. 60, 70, 80. Well, it's not perfect, but it's a decent fit. So I'll say that's a pass. So I'm just going to grab this one. I'm going to copy and paste it over here. And I'll just snap it somewhere over here. Now, that's it. However, I don't really want to follow this shape exactly. So I'm just going to use the stretch tool to snap it over here like this. And I'm going to snap this one over here. And you just want to make sure that it's somewhat close, the distance between here and here. So you just want to make sure that it's somewhat close. It doesn't have to be super exact. So I think that should be good. All right, so now let's go ahead and actually put a fillet between the two. So it looks like these are the surfaces that I need to project. And I'm going to trim over here. I'm going to trim here. And I'm going to do the same thing over here. Let's just take a look. Yep, I think that's good. And now I'm just going to hide these curves for a second. And I'm just going to do a freeform blend between these 2 surfaces, or these 4 sets of surfaces over here. Now, it is going to be curvature on both sides. Of course, the CV structure looks a little bit tortured over here. So in this case, you can just do connect ends. It's not beautiful over here, but well, not much you can do. So I would say that's good enough. And what you can do is just intersect it over here. So let's see if where it intersects is. Oh, okay. Okay, so if that's the case, now there are several things that you can do. You can try to reduce this one. That's going to spread apart the CV structure a little bit. It's probably not the best idea just because it's going to make the transition a little bit weird, especially over here. So it's probably better just to make the the tangent lines a little bit wider. So I'm going to grab this one over here. I'm just going to spread it apart like this, and I'll probably just open it up a little bit like that. And I'll probably do the same thing over here. Actually, if that's the case, I'm wondering if I should just open it up to this point. Like that. Over here. That's actually making it a little bit worse. I think I need to open it up a little bit more. Overall, I don't know. I'm not really enjoying the shape of the surfaces over here. I think I'm going to have to open this up quite a bit more. So let's go ahead and do that. So I'm just going to use a stretch tool over here. Just going to open it up like this. Although it's making it sharper. I don't know why. Because it could be due to the CV direction. So I'm just going to delete the COS over here. And let's do this again. So I'm going to grab these edges over here. Oh, let's take a look. I'm going to snap it over here. And let's go ahead and project this one. I'm thinking that this is probably not going to have the most beautiful CV structures in the world, but well, at least I can attempt to put something there because right now the fillet is needed. So I'm just going to say connect ends over here like this. It's not ideal, but for just a quick model, this should do. So let's just check. So I'm just going to intersect these three surfaces with this one. Oh, that's still quite sharp. Okay. So let's take a look. Yeah, it's not the most desirable shape. That said, however, let's just take a look at the highlight first. So I'm just going to trim this one over here for temporarily, and I'm just going to hide this one over here. Let's just take a look at the shape. Let's discard. Oh. Let's intersect this one. Let's say discard, discard, discard. And let's just take a look. Well, I mean, it's got the shape. I think it's got the basic shape. Although I think the highlight direction, well, it's a little bit abrupt over here. I think the transition could use a little bit of refinement. But at least I got essentially the highlight over here. So it's not beautiful, but at least I got something there. So, and I don't think it's supposed to be this wide, so I'll probably have to play around with the CV structure over here. I would say, yeah, I think I'm just going to let that be. All right, that's it over. I think I'm just going to adjust these ones over here just to, oh, I don't want it like that. So something like this, a little bit better. And yeah, I think that's okay. It's not perfect, but it's okay. Now, if you want to, you can probably just make it an edge line over here. But the only problem is, of course, the CV structure goes all over like, well, basically it goes all over the place like this. So I would say this probably connect ends over here might be a better option. All right, so now, because this is just supposed to be a short demo, I think I'm just going to leave it like that. I don't think I'm going to really dive deep into this. I'll just leave it there. Okay, it's not the most beautiful surfacing. To be honest, if I were to go really do some refinements, I'll probably play around with the CV structures a little bit. But let's just leave it like this because at least we got the basic shape down. All right. So first of all, I'm just going to make sure that this is trimmed. So I'm going to say discard over here, and I'm going to discard this one over here. And I'm just going to trim this one over here. Looks like there are some COSs that's not doing so well. All right, and there it is. Okay, so I'm just going to hide the curves like this. Now a couple of spans here, but that's not too bad. So I'm just going to delete the construction history over here, and there is the basic shape for the BMW X6 hood. I think that looks pretty well. It's not super beautiful, but I think it's actually pretty decent. Actually, looking at this picture, I feel like the fillet over here is a little bit bigger than what it actually needs to be. So I'm wondering if the canvas image is a little bit off. But oh well. At least this will give you a basic guideline of how to patch the surface structure for the hood. Okay, so that is it. And that's how you build the hood of the BMW X6. Thank you guys for watching, and see you next time.